Welcome everyone to Big Monday and the ACC on ESPN. Tonight from Cameron Indoor Stadium in Durham, North Carolina, the 13th ranked Louisville Cardinals making their first appearance in this building as a member of the ACC. Their first time here in 33 years, in fact, as they take on the Duke Blue Devils, unranked for the second week in a row. Louisville at 8-2 in conference, now tied atop the ACC standings with North Carolina. Duke in the middle of the pack at 6-4. Hi everybody and welcome. Sean McDonough along with Jay Billis. Delighted to have you with us. Of course, if you're a college basketball fan, you know the big news lately involving Louisville. The announcement late last week that the school is imposing a one-year ban on itself for postseason play. An ongoing investigation revealing, according to President James Ramsey, that recruiting violations have likely occurred. And they were not specific, Jay, but it's the ongoing situation, the sordid mess with the strippers, etc., that I don't think America wants to hear any more about. But as it pertains to basketball, your thoughts right now about what's going on with Louisville?
Well, a very flawed process, to say the least. And one thing is for sure, that everybody's money is secure, but the players at the end of this are the ones that are really being punished and left holding the bag. But one thing that the players can do is they are still eligible to win an ACC regular season title, and that's what the Louisville players are focused on in this one.
So just 8 games left in the regular season for Rick Pitino and his team. They have a very tough schedule left, Jay. If they're going to be successful tonight against Duke, what has to happen?
Well, I think Louisville's got to push the tempo. They're a team that's excellent defensively. They can press, they play some man, they play zone, they're unorthodox, and they've got to turn Duke over and really get into their bench and try to get some fouls on the Blue Devils, score in transition. And I'll tell you, one thing they can do is they can get into shooters' legs by the end of the game.
Rick Pitino's used a lot of different combinations this year, 10 different starting lineups. Tonight, Quentin Snyder, the point guard, with Shea Lewis, Damian Lee, the two fifth-year seniors. And for Duke, really a 6-man rotation with Emil Jefferson still out, Matt Jones, Derek Thornton, Grayson Allen, Brandon Ingram, and Marshall Plumlee. The lineups are brought to you by Centos. The officials are Roger Ayers with Michael Stevens and Michael Roberts. Best defensive team in the league, 4th in the country. Louisville giving up under 60 points per game against the top offensive team in the conference in Duke. Marshall Plumlee batted it out of bounds, and it'll be Louisville ball.
Well, Louisville's top scorer is Damian Lee, who as a 5th-year transfer came from Drexel after graduating. He was one of the top scorers in the country playing for Bruiser Flint. He's got to be a primary concern to the Duke defense. Duke starting off in a 2-3 zone, and they're going to play a lot of zone in this one.
They go underneath to Jalen Johnson, and he has the first bucket of the basketball game. Sophomore from Ypsilanti, Michigan, averaging under 6 points per game.
And right away, Louisville is putting on full court pressure, and they're going to try to make Duke work for everything. And one thing Rick Pitino has always done, he's liked to press, not just to get turnovers, but to wear teams down. And when you have a short rotation, you can get into shooters' legs, and this is an excellent shooting Duke team.
Derek Thornton, the miss, out of bounds. It'll be Duke ball. Rick Pitino had never been in the building until this morning for their shoot-around. It's his 1,000th game as a college head coach, and this is 31st year. The Hall of Famer, national championship winner, going through some tough times right now. Brandon Ingram, one of the best freshmen in the country, has the first Duke bucket.
And Duke putting on a little pressure in the backcourt just to slow the advance, not necessarily to force a turnover. Duke going to man after that first possession.
Quentin Snyder, Mike Krzyzewski, the Duke coach, told us before the game he's been very impressed about the way Snyder runs the Louisville team, 4th in the conference in assist to turnover ratio. Damian Lee, it wouldn't drop, and a one-handed rebound for Ingram.
Well, what a good player Brandon Ingram is. He's really playing the 4 spot for this Duke team after the injury to Emil Jefferson 9 games in. And there aren't that many players in the country that can claim to be better than Brandon Ingram, even though he's only a freshman. Louisville plays a lot of zone, and sometimes they match up out of it and they can go man after a certain point in the shot clock, and it can be really difficult to read. Well, that looked like a foul, my goodness.
It was off the mark. Trey Lewis kicked it out. Lee, a good three-point shooter.
Matt Jones guarding Lee just switched back off on him. Jones, the best defender on this Duke team, very versatile.
Damian Lee, tough shot. Grayson Allen looks to push. Second leading scorer in the ACC at 21 a game. Only Cat Barber from NC State has scored more, and he's fouled. Trey Lewis called for his first. Mike Krzyzewski's won 89% of his games at Cameron Indoor Stadium in his 36 years at Duke. Tonight, coincidentally enough, is the 1,000th game in the history of this building. So it's career game number 1,000 for Rick Pitino and number 1,000 for this building. And Coach K said, I think I've been here for all of them.
And how well has Grayson Allen played on this season? A guy who averaged 4 points a game last year. Now at the free throw line, he's had a spectacular season.
Even better than his season average of 21 per game over the recent stretch. Woo! Jarring pick set in the backcourt by Chinanu Onuaku.
Look out, Derek Thornton.
Onuaku kicks it out to Snyder for three, a little bit long. Allen managed to tip it away to Ingram. Duke leading 4-2. Nearly 3 minutes in.
Louisville has to really pay attention to three-point shooters in this. And anytime you get two guys on the ball, that's going to be a three-point shot. So if you overhelp and try to put two guys on the basketball, Duke is going to find open three-point shooters.
Marshall Plumlee with the clock running out. Some nice moves along the baseline for his first bucket.
And that is a move that Marshall Plumlee would not have been able to make last year. Now he catches it at the elbow. He could face up and drive. Not a threat to shoot it from there, but he can drive it.
Trey Lewis missed a three. Duke won at Louisville last year. Louisville shot the ball very poorly. They're off to a slow start tonight as Allen makes a three and Rick Pitino calls timeout.
Well, Duke is a very good team in transition. And when Grayson Allen gets a spot-up shooting opportunity, he is excellent. He is second in the ACC in scoring in ACC games, in the top 6 in field goal percentage over his last 4 games, averaging about 25 points per game. You've got to find him first in transition and make him dribble it without giving him a lane to the basket. Awfully difficult to do.
Trey Lewis, before he can get a shot up, foul called for a moving screen against Chinanu Onuaku, and that's been an ongoing problem. He's foul prone, and a lot of them come on moving screens at the offensive end.
Yeah, just leaning into Grayson Allen there. There's really no reason for that by Onuaku, because you've got to stay straight up and down without moving and let the cutter determine how to rub off the defender.
Lee transferred from Drexel, where he had a prolific 3 years. He didn't play Saturday in their easy win at home against Boston College with a bruised knee. He probably could have played if they needed him, but they did not.
And one of the ways you can help your defense is by taking good shots, and Louisville has not taken the best shots they're capable of taking thus far in the game. Nice pass.
Ingram to Plumlee. Lewis tried to bounce it to Onuaku, kicked out of bounds by Duke.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by State Farm. Find your agent at statefarm.com. And Verizon. Join a better network because better matters.
Welcome back to Cameron Indoor, where this Louisville team is still trying to wrap their minds around the fact that they won't see the postseason. As Rick Pitino went to tell his team the news of the self-imposed ban on Thursday night, he first started with Damian Lewis and Trey Lewis and Damian Lee, his 2 fifth-year graduate transfer students. As Trey Lewis told me, he said at first they tried to have the mature reaction and say, hey guys, don't feel sorry for us. Let us enjoy these last 8 games. But he said as they took their home court on Saturday night, he came to understand the gravity of the situation and the injustice that he feels has been done to them. As he said, everything he imagined coming to Louisville with one shot to play for the NCAA tournament has been taken away from him.
Lewis on the bench right now. Damian Lee on the court. Onuaku lost the pass. It goes out of bounds. Second turnover for Louisville. And Kaylee, Rick Pitino, as you know, showed you and I and Jay a text message he received from Damian Lee shortly after the announcement was made. And I got choked up reading it. So impressive is Damian Lee. Jay, you had a chance to visit with him today. Ingram slips. And Thornton got the ball back. But the gist of the text message was that if he had it to do over again, he'd still come to Louisville to play for Rick Pitino. What a pleasure it's been, and how much he loves and respects him, and how much he's looking to go into the battle in these last 8 games with him. Very, I think, dignified and classy response. Mature response from Lee. Not going that well on the court for them at the moment. Plumlee now has 4.
Well, right now, Louisville has been very slow to react. Their offense, I think, has really hurt their defense in a lot of ways. Louisville's been pounding the ball, haven't been moving it, and they're not attacking off the dribble. Just that last turnover they had trying to get it into Onuaku, they telegraphed everything.
Snyder, tough shot. Onuaku. That's Louisville, a much-needed bucket, his first. He averages 10 points per game, 3rd leading scorer on the team.
Well, ACC plays averaging about 10 rebounds per game, an excellent offensive rebounder. And Rick Pitino and his staff, they chart contested shots. And the majority of their shots in this game have been contested. They've not gotten many open ones.
3 from the corner. Would not fall for Derek Thornton, the freshman. Snyder 1 on 3. Gave it off to Donovan Mitchell, who's just into the game for Louisville. You count the bucket for Damian Lee.
And that's 2 offensive rebound buckets in a row for Louisville. And you score, you get a chance to set up some full court pressure. And then you get to play 5 on 5. And that's where, if Louisville can keep Duke out of transition and keep them from getting some open threes, I think that the Cardinals have a great chance to get a road win at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Against the Duke team that has won 3 of its last 4. But they play an easy schedule in that time. Thornton, boy, it's rare you get all the way to the bucket against Louisville that easily.
Well, usually the floor is not that spread against them, but because Duke put so many shooters on the floor, that really stretches the defense, and it's difficult to help.
The freshman Mitchell turned it over, and then did a good job to knock down the pass. It wound up with Ingram. Plumlee, he was the last to touch. Louisville ball with 13 to go in the half.
Rick Pitino pivoting to show his players, hey, you got to work on your passes. A lot of these turnovers, Duke has forced them, but that's not going to be good enough for Rick Pitino. He doesn't think it's been enough of a force that they should just succumb to that defense.
And these 2 teams played last year in Louisville in mid-January. Duke won 63-52. After the fake, a good drive by Trey Lewis to score. In the meeting last year, Louisville shot 29.5% from the field for the game and 16% from 3-point range, 4 for 25. Rick Pitino said we don't have to match them 3 for 3 tonight, but we can't trade 2s for 3s all night. We have to make our share of 3-point field goals.
Well, really, they've just got to make sure that Duke doesn't go off from the 3-point line.
Good defense. Ray Spalding, the freshman, in off the bench, and Rick Pitino raved this morning about him and his future, and it went out of bounds off Grayson Allen.
Ray Spalding has got tremendous length and has a very good understanding of how to play. He's going to be an outstanding player. Jalen Johnson is starting, but Ray Spalding playing a lot of minutes and has played at a very high level.
Lee drew the foul. He scored 1,531 points in just 3 years at Drexel. Matt Jones fouled him. And now he entered the night just needing 88 points for 2,000 in his career, including his time at Drexel.
He played on a really good Drexel team that Bruiser Flint coached. With Chris Fouch on that team, Franz Massenat. He got injured against Arizona and lost a season over it.
4th leading scorer in the nation last year. I know some, including our colleague Dan Dockich, have questioned if these graduate students who leave and go somewhere else owe more to the teams that they're leaving.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That treats the players as employees, and that their time at a school is essentially that they're an asset that the school develops, and therefore the school should be able to take advantage of it. And it's like a non-compete clause that they shouldn't be allowed to leave, and I couldn't disagree with that more.
Well, I asked Rick Pitino about that this morning. Do you feel any guilt, if that's the right word? Nice pass, and the dunk. Chase Jeter, the freshman off the bench, who's played sparingly of lately. And Rick Pitino, to finish the point, said no, because this is a good thing for Damian Lee. You know, he's getting much more exposure than he would have. He's having a great experience. It's a shame he's not going to be able to play in the NCAA tournament. The NBA people, if anything, are more aware and more able to evaluate him playing against this kind of competition night in and night out. That's not to say that Rick doesn't know it's a good thing for Louisville, too, because it is. But it's a good thing for the young men.
Well, plus, John, he graduated.
Grayson Allen fouled, and a chance for 3 when we come back.
Well, Grayson Allen has had a spectacular season. Gets the defense off balance with a shot fake and a great finish after the contact.
When this building opened in January of 1940, it was known as Duke Indoor Stadium. That was its name until 1972. It was renamed for Eddie Cameron, who served at Duke as men's basketball coach and athletic director. In the first game at Duke Indoor Stadium, Duke defeated Princeton 36-27. Duke all-time in this building has won 84.4%. Under Coach K, it's 88.8%. He has 962 Duke's all-time wins.
Yeah, this is one of those buildings, Sean, that I think without bias or argument is one of the bucket list places to go in college basketball. Allen Fieldhouse, the Palestra, there are a whole bunch of them. Assembly Hall, Indiana. There are a whole bunch of places, but this would be right up there. I think it's sort of the Wrigley Field of college basketball.
Duke basketball has been around for 111 years, and all games home and away, Coach K has won 46% of them. Their all-time wins. Strong drive and a foul. Dang Adele in off the bench, and he's been healthy. He's been impressive. The freshman from Melbourne, Australia, originally from Sudan. He was fouled by Chase Jeter.
And that's what Louisville, Sean, needs to do. They need to drive the ball. This is not a great perimeter shooting team. They can make open shots, certainly. But if they drive the ball, they're going to put Duke in a position to foul. And with only 6 guys that they're playing significant minutes, they can't afford to pick up fouls. And I think you have to put them in a position to foul.
Without Emil Jefferson, we saw him before the game. Said he's making progress, but still in and out of a boot. And they're just not sure if or when he's going to make it back this year.
Yeah, Duke keeps saying there's no timetable. It's been almost 2 months. And even if he does come back, to expect him to be the same player he was when he went out after 9 games. I mean, he was averaging 11 points, 10 rebounds, half of those offensive, and shooting almost 70% from the field. So to have that senior that was an excellent defender, excellent rebounder, not in the lineup has really been difficult.
When he got hurt, he was the only player in the country who was averaging a double-double while also shooting better than 68% from the floor. And as Mike Krzyzewski said, he is the voice of their defense. Defense that time from Ingram, who blocked the shot. He's second on the team in block shots behind Plumlee.
What a great fake by Brandon Ingram. And Spalding had Ingram just where he wanted him, in the lane with Ingram on his back. And Spalding, a young player, just made a weak move. And Ingram, who's long-armed and very versatile defensively, you know, he lost the ball going up. I think Allen might have knocked it away, but that wasn't a strong move. And Ingram is, Sean, he is so good offensively. He struggles shooting the ball early in the season, but he's a playmaking 4-man that is a real matchup nightmare at his position.
Coach K thinks he could play 1 through 4 in the NBA. Good three-point shooter off the mark that time, but he's 7th in the ACC in three-point percentage. And Mitchell, the explosive athlete at the other end, he's a highlight dunk waiting to happen night in and night out. 4 points for Donovan Mitchell, the freshman from Greenwich, Connecticut.
Boy, having flashbacks to the doctors of dunk in those throwback uniforms. He looked like Lancaster Gordon throwing that down. He's got another step on his ladder that other players don't have.
Luke Kennard for 3. His first points of the night. The freshman from Franklin, Ohio, averages 12.5 points per game.
Well, he doesn't need a lot of time to get a shot off. And that was against the zone. Just moved it one lane line to lane line pass up top. And he pulled that trigger quickly.
See, coming off a terrific game against NC State, and the response by Donovan Mitchell. Just a 25% three-point shooter for the year, but 1 for 1 tonight, and Louisville within 3.
Well, that was an open shot. Instead of taking a contested shot, he came off a little fade screen just around the elbow and caught the ball in good rhythm, but he didn't have a hand up.
Thornton almost lost the dribble with Lewis right up on him. And then a travel is the call against Derek Thornton, the third Duke turnover.
Well, as the ball's going to the top, Mitchell just goes against the grain. A little fade screen by Chinano Anawaku, and that picked off Grayson Allen. And that was a really well-run play by Louisville. And that's how you get an open shot. The difference between a contested shot and an open shot is probably a difference in 25 to 30% on their shooting percentage.
Anawaku goes inside. Lee missed it twice, and Plumlee pulled down the rebound.
So you can see Louisville trying to post up different players and make Duke guard one-on-one in the post. Really one of the most difficult things to do.
Ingram out to the corner for a 3 that would not fall for Matt Jones. Mitchell all the way to the bucket and just had it ripped away by Derek Thornton.
What a play by Thornton.
And then he charges at the other end, well guarded by Trey Lewis, and it's the first foul on Thornton.
Not sure that Donovan Mitchell shouldn't have given this ball up to Jalen Johnson on the right a little bit earlier, but coming from behind to knock that away and really steal it away, that was a heck of a play by Thornton. You know, Louisville's way of playing in a game like this is kind of like body punches in a fight. You know, it's gonna take its toll more in the second half. And one thing that Rick Pitino has always liked to do is really get into the legs of shooters. You got great shooters, you make them guard, you make them get up and down the floor, and then at the end of the game, their legs are not going to be as fresh.
Mitchell off the mark from three-point range, and Grayson Allen let it go out of bounds. Media timeout. Duke by 3. 7:55 to go in the first half in Durham. All right, Carl, great anticipation for that game tonight.
You know, thus far in the game, Sean, Louisville hadn't really put Duke in a position to pick up fouls. Duke's only got 3 team fouls, which for a team that is only playing 6 guys regularly, you know, they got to put Duke in a position to foul more, and they've got to attack more, in my judgment.
Kennard blocked by Anawaku. The 6'10" big man well away from the bucket to block that one. Here's Cayley.
Well, Sean, the question for Louisville's defense now is where's the balance? They knew that with their zone on Duke, they were going to have to expand it as far as possible, farther than they usually like to take away the 3. Pitino didn't want to see any more layups, but then you saw 3 3-point attempts by Duke before that last timeout. Now they're looking to find the balance.
Boy, Allen set up Plumlee for an easy one as the shot clock was running out, and he missed it and then committed the foul after the miss. His first. Well, certainly Louisville is the deeper team, Jay. We talked a lot during the year without Jefferson. Duke essentially playing 6 men, although Chase Jeter has seen some minutes already here tonight. Lee's floater wouldn't go, nor would the tip by Jalen Johnson. And one of the challenges for Coach K has been managing minutes with the 6-man rotation, particularly in situations like this. Second game in 3 days for Duke.
Well, they've had to switch some defenses up, and players have had to learn to play with fouls. You're not going to be able to go 40 minutes against really good teams without picking up some fouls here and there.
Allen, a 3 for Grayson Allen, and he has 11 with 6.5 to go in the first half.
One thing you cannot do, and it's hard to do, you can't go for those shot fakes. You fly on by. Grayson Allen is excellent with his feet set. He's pretty good off the dribble, and he's a good driver, but he is excellent with his feet set.
It's a great combination as Lee scores on a nice cut. When you're Grayson Allen, you shoot more free throws than anybody in the league, and you're third in the conference in three-point field goal percentage. He is certainly not a one-dimensional offensive player.
Duke tried to double the post there, and Damian Lee made a really nice cut to take advantage of it.
Plumlee not really where he wants to be handling the ball and can't get rid of it fast enough to Ingram. Right down the lane for the dunk.
Well, when you go for a steal, you had better get it. Louisville was in man-to-man on that possession and should have had that ball. They didn't, and Brandon Ingram able to take advantage of it. Ingram is so skilled.
Lee made it all the way to the bucket. Allen leaks out. Mitchell defending, and Allen's shot wouldn't go. Numbers the other way now for Louisville. Crowd thought Mitchell walked. The bench did as well, but no call there, and Mitchell has 9 off the bench for the Cardinals.
Well, he's so athletic and can be very dynamic. Not a great shooter, but he is an excellent finisher and brings a ton of energy. Can really rebound as well. He played excellent basketball against Wake Forest earlier in the year at 18 points, 8 boards. Another block on the perimeter by Anawaku.
Now Plumlee pulls his way to the bucket and was fouled.
Marshall Plumlee is averaging about 10 rebounds a game in ACC play, over 4 of them on the offensive end. And he has an excellent chest bumper. That looks like it's painful.
Six points, 5 rebounds for Plumlee. Working toward becoming an Army officer. He signed an ROTC contract about a year ago. Spent 28 days in leadership training this summer at Fort Knox, and he got a big hand as he went out. Duke back up by 7. The largest lead was 9.
Looks like Louisville's in a set they call quick. Lines up in a ball screen, and Jeter knocked that thing away because that duck in on the weak side by Anawaku, that should have been an easy basket without him knocking it away.
2 fouls now on Matt Jones as he got called for the reach-in. Saturday, the big rematch. What an epic game they played earlier this season. The rematch now in Oklahoma. Number 6 Kansas, number 3 Oklahoma. 2:30 Saturday on ESPN. They played that 3 overtime thriller on January 4th. Right now, neither one of them atop the standing. It's West Virginia atop the Big 12, with the big one coming up against Texas tomorrow.
Well, West Virginia turns you over. They press. And Jayshawn Page has really emerged as an excellent scorer for Bob Huggins. 2-3 zone for Duke. Ingram up top.
Lewis bounced it for Lee, who swatted it out of bounds. Couldn't corral it. And 4 turnovers for the U of L.
Louisville going a little bit too fast. Just need to calm down a little bit on the offensive end. You know, it's one of the hard parts, I think, for coaches. You try to get your teams to go 1,000 miles an hour and play with this tremendous energy on defense, and then you want them to slow down and play with good pace on offense, and it can be a difficult balance to strike.
Jay, you made the observation this morning. You wonder if you're the coach of a visiting team coming in here, what you think when your players are taking out cameras and taking shots at Cameron Indoor Stadium. You know how excited they are to be playing in this building.
A little bit of a different feel when they're taking pictures out by the big D out front.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
at the half, John.
All right, Carl, thank you. We look forward to that. Here it's Duke by 7, led by Grayson Allen's 11. Donovan Mitchell, 9 off the bench for the U of L. Duke has led through most of this first half. Won 3 of the last 4. The 2 of those wins against NC State and the other against Georgia Tech. Big step up in the competition level against Louisville tonight. Lewis long. The shooting struggle continues for Louisville.
But a lot of jump shots, and all 5 white shirts have been on the defensive glass. Not a lot of offensive rebounds for Louisville.
Ingram, after he missed a 3. Louisville last a touch, says Roger Ayers. Derek Thornton struggling to get it in. Didn't get it in. 5-second call.
Well, after Duke ran its initial action, they didn't move again. And there was good pressure on the ball, and Derek Thornton didn't really have any choice. He had to try to get it to Chase Jeter. There was no room.
Duke has turned it over 6 times. Texas and Oklahoma coming up next on Big Monday. Oklahoma now number 3, the new number 1 team in the country. The poll out today, Villanova. 3-point miss from the corner for Trey Lewis.
Nice
Allen
drive.
on a walk again, way out at the 3-point line, defending. And the ball, I believe, hit the shot clock.
Well, that was a nice shot fake and drive, but Louisville recovered to put pressure on that shot.
Rick Pitino asked you this morning, Jay, have you seen a team that you think is clearly better than just about anybody else? And you said no, and based on what's happened this year at the top of the poll, it looks to be true. 6 different teams now have been number 1 in the country in the AP poll this year, with Villanova's ascension today. It'll be Louisville ball. The crowd doesn't like the call. Plumlee the last to touch, apparently.
Yeah, and Villanova will not be the last number 1. And I think that's going to continue to be a bit of a revolving door going down the stretch. And that ball looked like it went off of Onuaku when it was knocked away, but Louisville keeps it.
Bank shot wouldn't go for Quentin Snyder. Ingram kept it alive. And there is a Louisville foul. And it is on Onuaku, his second. So here is the new top 10. Villanova, first time in school history, number 1 in the AP poll.
Well, Villanova's got very good guards, and they've got an excellent wing player in Josh Hart, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the country. An excellent rebounder as a guard. Averages over 7 rebounds a game. Just had 13 rebounds against Providence.
Villanova, prior to what happened today. Wow, what a block. Anas Mahmoud off the bench to deny Kennard. And they make a shot there. Trey Lewis the bucket. Villanova was one of 8 schools that had won a national title but had never been number 1 in the AP poll prior to today. Maryland is also on that list, and as you saw, they're number 2 in this week's AP poll.
Louisville back to their matchup zone. Boy, how high did Mahmoud get up to block that last shot? He was up by the square. And Mahmoud got caught on the high side there of Plumlee, and Lee was a little bit late getting over, but that is one long-arm shot blocker protecting the rim, because Luke Kennard is an excellent shooter, and he has proven to be a good driver and a good passer as well. Probably an underrated side of his game. He scored a ton of points, Luke Kennard did in high school. I think he scored just under 3,000.
You are correct. If 2,997 is just under 3,000.
Second all-time leading scorer in the state of Ohio, high school basketball. You know who number 1 is?
John Diebler.
John Diebler, that's right.
Because you told me before the game.
The answer is, who is John Diebler?
Who is John Diebler? Mahmoud rebounds the Plumlee miss. The foul on Trey Lewis is second. So Lewis has 2. Onuaku has 2. And we're down to a minute and a half to go in the first half.
Louisville running their offense higher. And Grayson Allen picking up a block there, trying to get in front of Damian Lee. I'm not sure you want to try to take a charge that far away from the basket. There's really no need for it. But he's just really trying to ice that ball screen, keep it on one side. But everything is lifted free throw line or above. And I think that's so that Louisville can create some driving lines and really put some pressure on the Duke defense.
Crowd doesn't like the call. It's the first on Allen. I thought it was a good call.
It was a good call.
Lee got to the rim again but couldn't finish. He's really struggling with his shot tonight. 2 for 10 now from the floor. Allen, the quick counter, and he got brushed by Mahmoud. Didn't like the call. NBA Wednesday presented by State Farm on ESPN. Kobe's farewell tour continues in Cleveland against LeBron and the Cavs. That's at 8, and then at 10:30 the Rockets against the Blazers. Coverage begins with NBA Countdown charged by Dew at 7. Both games streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app.
Well, I'm not sure the NBA has ever been more fun to watch. I could not have had more fun as you look at David Robinson, the Hall of Famer from the San Antonio Spurs, played at the Naval Academy. That announcer swap where I got to work with Mike Breen and Doug Collins, it was, and get to watch the Golden State Warriors and the Wizards. It was awesome. One, because Mike Breen lets his analysts in.
Yes, that's always important.
A lesson you could stand to learn.
Most of us college play-by-play guys do not adhere to that philosophy. It's nice to visit with David Robinson this afternoon. I ran into him at your hotel, since you don't stay at the same hotel as the rest of us. Donovan Mitchell to miss, and the putback.
Basket interference. Matt Stockman was up there to put it back in. It looked like Jalen Johnson touched it up top.
Well, it's too bad, because I think it might have been going in anyway.
I think it was.
Stockman doesn't play a lot. Rick Pitino said today he thinks he's going to be a really good player. He's really still learning the game, but with the foul difficulty on Onawaku, who's out there right now, he gave Ingram a little bump. And a 3 for Allen. Grayson Allen gives Duke its biggest lead of the night, and he has 16 here in the first half. Snyder, tough pass and fielded well by Mitchell. Intended for Stockman, who acted as if he didn't think it was intended for him, but there was nobody there in the black uniforms of Louisville. 5 turnovers committed by Rick Pitino's team.
Anytime there's a drive, Grayson Allen did a really good job of relocating into the field division of Brandon Ingram, going from the left wing to out top, and another catch and shoot opportunity for Grayson Allen. He does not miss those. What an outstanding offensive player he's become, and really works hard defensively as well. But he's right up there with anybody for ACC Player of the Year this year. But Grayson Allen was a McDonald's All-American. Didn't play a ton last year until he got toward the end of the season. Had a pretty good lineup ahead of him. But he went from averaging 4 points a game last year to, in ACC play, averaging about 21. And just having an excellent season. 24 points a game over his last 5. And both he and Marshall Plumlee have gotten off to a great start in this one.
And that's really nothing new for Allen. He has accounted for just about 25% of all of their scoring this year. They've been much more reliant on the three-point shot since Emile Jefferson went out. About 25% of their points when they had Jefferson were coming from the three-point line. Now that number is almost 35% without Jefferson, and a lot of that coming from Allen. 3 for 3 from beyond the arc tonight. Coach K, a timeout. They can take the last shot of the half.
Last shot of the half, and they get the ball to start the second half because they've got the arrow. And Louisville's defense has been pretty good, but their offense has really let them down in this first half.
Just 24 points, shades of a year ago. And they shot 29.5% for the game in their loss to Duke. 6-0 run to end the half for Coach K's Blue Devils. Now the Jeep halftime report with Carl, Seth, and Jay. Welcome back to Big Monday. And the ACC on ESPN. Louisville begins the night tied with North Carolina for the lead atop the ACC standings. But right now they're down by 11 to Duke at the half here at Cameron. 1,000th game in building history. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Dreadful shooting performance for Louisville, and a nice performance from Grayson Allen and Marshall Plumlee for Duke.
Well, you've come to expect that from Grayson Allen. He has had a spectacular season, but had 16 points in that first half. And actually, some of the poor offense by Louisville led to some good offense by Duke in transition, put Louisville's defense in a bad position. And it wasn't that Louisville's defense was so bad. Louisville defended fairly well in the first half. It's just their offense was bad. And Marshall Plumlee had 8 points in that first half, 5 rebounds. Did a good job of finishing plays, cleaning some things up around the basket, and really did a good job of protecting the paint. But in the second half, Louisville's going to have to attack more. They were able to only hang 6 fouls on Duke in that first half, in large measure because they settled for jump shots.
Planning for success is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Grayson Allen picks up where he left off. 19 for Allen, 4 out of 5 from beyond the arc, and the largest lead of the night now for Duke, 14 points.
And Allen able to get his feet set in that corner. And you want to make him put the ball on the deck. He's such a good driver. Seems like you try to keep him from driving, but he's so much better when he gets his feet set with a catch and shoot opportunity.
Trey Lewis, the step back. His third bucket of the night for 6 points, and looking like Louisville might ratchet up the intensity with some pressure, but they drop back to half-court defense.
Louisville in the zone.
Brandon Ingram shoots over it. Jalen Johnson got there too late. 7 for the freshman from Kinston, North Carolina, Brandon Ingram, the preseason ACC freshman of the year.
Johnson just got caught underneath the basket, basically over-rotated, and that was too long of a closeout. After the ball was reversed to Brandon Ingram. You got to close out that distance. That's not going to happen.
Damian Lee fouled. Still can't get a shot to drop. 2 out of 10 from the floor in the first half. While we have a moment, let's check in with Kaylee Hartung.
Well, guys, throughout that first half, the Louisville staff really wanted their defense moving quicker in transition. Instead, what they got, as you've noted, was their offense moving too fast. This staff really wanting them to not be missing those easy layups, the 6 or 7 that they missed in the first half. What they want to see more touches in the paint for Louisville's offense. On defense, they want to see their guys rotating out their shooters more. They say it's the second or the third pass by Duke that they're missing.
Well, one of the things, Kaylee, you got to move while the ball is moving. So you can't just move once the ball's been caught. You have to move when the ball's in the air. And usually Louisville very good at that. But if you're going to, what makes your transition defense better is good offense. And Louisville ran some poor offense in that first half, and it led to some difficulties for them with their transition defense. They gave up some open shots and baskets as a result of their poor offense.
Grayson Allen was called for the foul, his second. Lee, 1 out of 2. And the second one was harrowing for him. He is the second best free throw shooter in the ACC, nearly 88%, behind Luke Kennard of Duke, who's over 92% for the year. Derek Thornton of Matt Jones out there with Plumlee, Allen, and Ingram to start the second half for Mike Krzyzewski. Thornton for 3. And finally, it's corralled by Damian Lee. Transfer from Drexel from the Baltimore area. Corner 3, yes. Snyder the bucket. And a quick timeout. And it's a Louisville timeout. First basket of the night for Quentin Snyder. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis, Kaylee Hartung back at Cameron Indoor Stadium. 1,000th game in the history of this building. Duke with an 11-point lead. Nearly 2 minutes gone by in the second half. Full court pressure. Rick Pitino called timeout after a made Louisville basket to set up some defense, and they're bringing the pressure.
They're basically face guarding and nobody on the ball. Trying to keep it out of the hands of the main ball handlers. And Louisville going to stick with the matchup zone.
Plumlee in the lane, working on Onuaku. Took a weak shot, fading away, and then Onuaku slipped and lost the ball out of bounds. Tough break for him.
Yeah, he slipped and looked like he stepped on the baseline, and then ultimately the ball went out of bounds off him anyway. Plumlee knocked the ball away. Well, he didn't step on the baseline, but the ball went out of bounds. And Plumlee just reaching in there after Onuaku grabbed that rebound.
Ingram had a screen from Plumlee. Three for Matt Jones out of the corner, the junior from DeSoto, Texas. Their team leader in three-point field goals made. That's his 55th of the year.
Oh, another catch and shoot guard, but Jones had been 11 of his last 42 before that make over his last 5 games.
Lob underneath. Onuaku missed the bunny, but there to follow is Ray Spalding, the freshman from Louisville, out of Trinity High School. His first basket of the game. He gives them 5.7 points per game.
Duke's shooters have really stretched out this Louisville defense. That's going to open up some drives, and when you drive it, oftentimes you're going to get 2 playing the ball, and that's going to open up a 3-point shot, because Duke is expert at finding open 3-point shooters that are spotting up on the 3-point line.
Allen, they need a shot with a shot clock at 3. Jones missed the 3. Plumlee the offensive rebound over Spalding.
Spalding just he was trying to block out. He just didn't have the bulk to box out Plumlee, who's an excellent offensive rebounder.
Spalding's 210. They list Plumlee at 250. He seems to be every bit of that. Ingram had an angle on Onuaku. Spalding over to help, and he wound up with the ball. Damian Lee, yes, with the left hand. He has 9.
They're just able to get into the lane off that little side ball screen in transition. And he also had a pocket pass available to Onuaku to finish. An excellent finish with the left hand.
Gordon all the way into the middle of the lane, tried to dump it down for Plumlee. It didn't get there. And then Plumlee got it back. Bad turnover by Snyder with Louisville in transition.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary.
Offensive foul is a call on Derek Thornton. His second.
Well, Damon Lee's not been shooting the ball particularly well in this ball game. Gotten off to a rough start, but he can really attack off the dribble, and that's an excellent finish with the left hand off the glass.
Here's a look at Joe Lunardi's latest ACC bracketology. North Carolina still a #1 seed in Joe's book. Syracuse, Florida State, and Clemson on the bubble, and of course Louisville with the self-imposed postseason ban. No longer part of Joe's bracketology. They won't be in the tournament, nor will they play in the ACC tournament in Washington. Nice execution out of the timeout, and winds up with a Spalding dunk.
A really good play run with Spalding getting wide open along the baseline, and an excellent pass by Snyder. Luke Kennard now #5 on the right wing. Another guy that you have to be concerned about as a catch and shoot threat.
Ingram held ball, well guarded by Quentin Snyder, and with the arrow it goes over to Louisville.
Now, Louisville's defense has continued to be pretty solid. I see a little back pick and just a miscommunication off the down screen, and that left Spalding wide open under the basket.
4 for Spalding, who had 7 and 7 Saturday in their one-sided win against Boston College.
Luke Kennard with the foul, grabbing Trey Lewis as he was trying to come off a screen on the right side.
First foul on Luke Kennard, and the third on Coach K's Blue Devils here in the second half.
Louisville's starting to get a little bit better movement in the half court. They'd appeared in the first half a little bit stagnant. The ball was sticking, a lot of dribbling, and then they settled for a lot of challenge shots. They're getting more open opportunities in the second half.
Trey Lewis to play it in. He's a graduate transfer from Cleveland State. Played 1 year actually at Penn State, then 2 at Cleveland State. Now at Louisville. Snyder, a big miss. They had a little momentum. Had it down to 8. Still 8 as Kennard drives and gets fouled by an airborne Clinton Snyder. His second and the first team foul against Louisville in the second half.
When Duke has used fakes, they have gotten Louisville to leave the floor. That's an awfully difficult place to stop when you're trailing a driver. But Kennard has got such good scoring instincts. He can really shoot. He's left-handed, but a much better passer than he gets credit for. People talk about his shooting a lot, but he can drive it and pass it as well. Coming off a 26-point game against NC State.
He had a 30-point game earlier this year against Notre Dame. His high, just the 7th Duke freshman to score 30 or more in a game. J.J. Redick did it twice. Allen, hard fall. Then
Allen tripped him.
Spalding, Spalding, and Rick Pitino up off the bench saying he was tripped, but no call there. Spalding went down hard.
I don't know if it was on purpose, but it was a trip.
Oh, how did they miss that? Well, you can see why they missed it, because the nearest official wasn't looking at it.
So I think you can look. The officials may be going over to see if that's flagrant. If that's ruled an intentional trip, you can call that a flagrant foul. And it looked intentional to me. When it was live, I thought it was done purposely. But who knows? I mean, you can't read a kid's mind. But see his legs going out, then it comes back here. No, that looks purposeful to me.
I would agree with you, Jay. When his head turns, he sees where, that's clearly intentional.
Yeah. And I don't know how a referee misses that, honestly. Michael Stevens was right there, and you're correct, he was not looking.
Watching, you see, well, he's looking. No, he turns at the last minute, looks away to his right. But one of the other officials saw something that made him realize they should go to the monitor, and this is probably not going to end well for Grayson Allen.
Well, they can't call it. It's either flagrant or nothing. They can't go back and call a personal foul on it, which it normally would have been. An odd situation. You don't see that very often. You saw a player from Oregon State earlier this year playing against Utah who tripped an official, and there's no question that was intentional, but totally different situation.
And Oregon State suspended him for 4 games. It's a veteran officiating crew. Roger Ayers, Michael Roberts, Michael Stevens. Ordinarily in a situation like this, the officials would come over to our position and tell us what's going on so we can tell you, but
unless they can fly, they're not doing that.
Fortunately, up here in the Crow's Nest, high atop Cameron Indoor Stadium, in the elevated sauna. It's too bad Duke doesn't make a little more money for being on TV. Maybe they could make the TV position a little bit better. Wah, there's the wine tonight without the cheese.
It looks like they're calling a flagrant 1, but you can't tell from here. But the flagrant 1 will be 2 shots. And it's you'd think it would be Louisville's ball at point of interruption.
And it's the 3rd foul on Grayson Allen.
That's a significant play. Not only for the free throws, but to hang a 3rd foul on a key player with 13:55 to go.
Nothing run now for Louisville. Duke is scoreless over the last 3.5 minutes. I mean, that should be flagrant. And that's very dangerous to the person you're tripping, and you can hurt yourself doing that too.
Yeah, it's just not a smart play. And right now, with a little bit of run and momentum going, if Louisville can get an open three right here, you'd think they'd want to take it. And the same play they ran before that got Spalding a wide open shot. Another Onuaku with another moving screen. You could see it coming. And that's not a very smart play by Chinanu Onuaku.
And he has talked repeatedly that he needs to stop getting called for moving screens. He thinks they're all ticky-tack and that the officials are overboard in making these calls, but he knows they're going to do it, so he needs to find a way to stop doing it.
Well, the officials have been consistent in most of the games I've seen. I think most every official would have called that a moving screen. He's just got to come to a stop, and then the ball handler's got to wait for him to come to that stop. Can't take off too early. What a bad pass.
Right into the lap of Spalding from Grayson Allen. And again, Jay, you wonder about fatigue for Duke. Both these teams played Saturday, but it was an easy win. And there's a three for Donovan Mitchell. And Louisville's a much deeper team, even with Onuaku on the bench with 3 fouls. 12 for Donovan Mitchell. 3-point game with 13 minutes to go.
Well, Donovan Mitchell was wide open just off a simple little dribble handoff. And the handoff, it was a little pitch so that it was difficult to switch. Still in the zone for Louisville.
Largest lead for Duke was 15 points. Donovan Mitchell called for the foul.
Duke shot the ball well in spots in this game, but they still have to look to drive, even though they've been playing against a zone. You can still get driving opportunities.
They played 7 men tonight, but just a few minutes from Chase Jeter. Good block by Anas Mahmoud. Leads to a break opportunity for Louisville. And the finish by Trey Lewis. It's a 1-point game. 13 straight points for Louisville.
Well, Mahmoud switched out onto Grayson Allen. And Allen, instead of going into his body on a drive, tried to avoid the blocked shot. And that's going to open things up for a shot blocker. You have to take away space. And Mahmoud has had a big impact on this game on the defensive end. That could be 3 blocks he's got in this one. But you try to avoid a block shot, you are helping out a shot blocker. And that led to some transition offense for Louisville, and the Cards are back in it.
Brandon Ingram, a big-time play. Get the lead back to 3 for Duke with under 12 minutes to go.
Well, Duke had brought Grayson Allen off a baseline screen by Marshall Plumlee. And Plumlee was wide open after setting the screen. They just missed him.
At the other end, Anas Mahmoud from Egypt. We talked to Mike Krzyzewski before the game, Jay, about Louisville. Asked him about Louisville. The first player he mentioned who was impressing him lately for Louisville was Anas Mahmoud.
Well, he's added a different dimension. He had 15 points against Georgia Tech. 13 of those came in the second half.
Luke Kennard a 3, so back-to-back buckets on 2 possessions for Duke after Louisville had a 13-0 run that was ended by the Ingram score. Mahmoud from the elbow. Probed a little closer, took a bump from Plumlee.
Well, that's where Mahmoud needs to improve. He needs to get stronger. But he is very skilled and a good passer.
This pass got batted by Ingram, and again, Mitchell, so athletic, not just with his leaping ability, but his ability to change direction. Terrific quickness, and he has 14 tonight.
Well, he's going to be a great college player, just a freak athlete. And he's dynamic going to the basket.
His career high is 18 against Wake Forest, so he has a chance for that. Jones fouled on the drive. He'll shoot a couple with 10:38 to go.
Well, Donovan Mitchell scored double figures in 4 of his last 6 games. And I saw him in Louisville against Wake Forest, and he put up 18 points, 8 rebounds in that one, and was the difference for Louisville in winning that game.
Foul on Spalding is first, the 4th Louisville team foul. Saturday, Jay will be in Norman for the big rematch Kansas and Oklahoma, 2:30 on ESPN. When they played in early January, it was a 3 overtime, 109-106 thriller with the Jayhawks winning at Allen Fieldhouse. That'll be streaming live on Watch ESPN, of course, the ESPN app. One possession game. Louisville's led only once, and it was after the first bucket of the game in the opening seconds. 2-0. Lee rises for a three off the hands of Spalding. Now Mitchell.
And Matt Jones has done a nice job on Damian Lee. Hasn't let him get anything easy to get going.
I wonder if Lee's knee is still bothering him. The shot blocked by Grayson Allen as Lewis tried to shoot halfway through the second half. Another dandy on Big Monday.
Louisville looks like they're a little man-to-man duking a 1-4 set.
Kennard turned the corner with help from a Plumlee screen. Looked like the ball got knocked out of his hand and wound up in the bucket. Mitchell, the step back. Wow! Kennard threw his hands in the air as if to say, boy, I thought I did everything I could. And he still created an open shot for himself.
Right, that was a difficult shot, that little step back, but he's a confident player right now.
Three-point Duke lead with 9 minutes to go. Ingram off an Allen feed. Yes, for 3.
Louisville is trying to force all Duke action to the baseline, which theoretically is supposed to cut off their options. And this drive to the baseline opened up a pass to Brandon Ingram up top, and Rick Pitino is probably telling his team, hey, somebody's got to get a deflection, get a hand on that one. And Kennard just losing control of the ball. But when you're a good shooter, you get those rolls.
Grayson Allen, so impressive. On pace to be just the 9th player to lead Duke in scoring and assists in the same season. The list includes R.J. Williams, Danny Ferry, Johnny Dawkins, Grant Hill, Jim Spanarkel, Nolan Smith, who's here tonight, John Shire on the bench, one of the assistants for Duke. There's Nolan Smith, Tate Armstrong, the rest of that list.
And Nolan Smith's father was Derek Smith, a fabulous player at Louisville, played on their 1980 championship team.
Of course, the most significant of the previous 10 meetings between these two schools, 6 of them won by Duke, the 1986 national championship game. Despite the great efforts of Jay Billis defending Curtis Ellison, Louisville won the national championship. Trey Lewis doesn't like the call. They say he was the last to touch it. 10 turnovers for Louisville.
Tried to spin against this pressure, and he did touch it last. Thornton was able to get a finger on it. Lewis got the last finger on it before it went out.
And Lewis got the hook from Coach Pitino. 8.5 minutes to go. Duke by 6. Kennard down the lane, took the foul.
Duke is
that's on Onawaku, and it's his 4th.
Duke is just spreading out Louisville and taking them off the dribble. You know, we always talk, Sean, about spacing in basketball, and spacing's really important. But spacing doesn't matter if you can't stretch the defense. And when you can shoot it at 4 different spots from the perimeter like Duke can, you can really stretch out a defense.
Wow. Leading free throw shooter in the country, Luke Kennard, 92.2%. That is just his 7th miss of the season in 78 attempts. He leads the country. 1 out of 2 there. He's on pace to set the Duke freshman record from the line, 91.6 by J.J. Redick. his freshman season. And if Luke finishes the year leading the country in free throw shooting, he'd be the 4th freshman ever to do that. Out of bounds off the foot of Thornton or Kennard after Lewis lost control of the dribble. The officials conferring perhaps about a reset of the clock. They seem to be looking at the clock, and now Roger Ayers is coming over to the table. They put 2 seconds back on the shot clock.
Marshall Plumlee guarding the ball out of bounds to try to put extra pressure on Trey Lewis. Make it difficult for him to see his options.
Mahmoud. His drive set up the 3 for Quentin Snyder.
Just really smart by Louisville to take advantage of the switching by Duke on the out of bounds under. Plumlee wound up guarding Trey Lewis, and then wound up, he had to get out to the corner. You're asking a 7-footer to guard out there. That's tough.
Kennard drifted into an open 3 but missed it. Spalding the rebound. Now Trey Lewis.
It is a huge possession for Louisville.
And Snyder scores, and a chance for 3.
And what a smart play by Quentin Snyder to drive the ball and get into the body of the defender, Luke Kennard. That was excellent by Quentin Snyder. Boy, Louisville with an opportunity now, if they make this and 1, to cut it to 1.
Rick Pitino's team has rallied from 15 back. Jay, I never thought I would say on national TV that Rick Pitino is not even the most intense coach on his own coaching staff, but it isn't even close. There's Ray Ganong, their strength and conditioning coach. He's been at the U of L for 31 years. Former football player in Miami for Howard Schnellenberger. He's in charge, as you can see, among many things, of the chairs they use during the timeouts.
Well, we were in Puerto Rico last year, and he was taking laps around the gym during the workout. And when I saw him, I said to Dan Schulman at the time, "I'll bet you that's the strength coach." But Ray is really intense and does a great job.
Sure does. He looks like he could still play fullback for Coach Schnellenberger.
Well, if they were casting a strength coach in Hollywood, he'd get the role every single time.
Some of the other members of the staff have videos of Ray on their phone from action during the game. Rick Pitino said at one game not too long ago he was emphasizing blocking out during a timeout. You got to block out. And they said Ray used the phrase block out about 2,000 times the rest of the game, to the point where the other guys are sitting around the bench said, "Okay, Ray, I think they have the message now."
Well, they've certainly gotten the message in the second half on the offensive end. Louisville 12 of 16 from the field in the second half. That's 75% after shooting just over 30% in the first half. Got a switch.
Kennard travels.
Give credit to Mahmoud there. He switched off on Kennard and just stayed between him and the basket and made it awfully difficult if Kennard wanted to try to shoot over the top of the long arm 7-footer.
So here is the chance for the lead for Louisville for the first time since it was 2-0. 17 seconds into the game. 7 minutes to go. Lee for the lead. Well off. Mahmoud got a hand on it and could not corral it. Mahmoud still out there with Onuaku on the bench. Onuaku picked up 4 fouls in just 22 minutes of action for Louisville tonight.
Louisville not sure what they're in. Could be in man-to-man.
Ingram fouled. Boy, from here it looked like the ball was coming out of his possession, but apparently it was knocked out by a foul, and it's on Snyder, his 3rd. He got hit in the face.
I'm not sure on that last Louisville possession, Sean, that was the best shot Louisville could have gotten. You know, Damian Lee's been struggling from the perimeter and took a challenge 3 after just 1 pass. Really didn't make the defense work at all.
Ingram makes the free throw. An improving free throw shooter as the year's gone along. 67% entering tonight, but he had made 15 of his last 17. And right on cue, 1 out of 2. Lewis did a great job to keep it alive.
That was not an easy ball to corral.
2 to tie, 3-4 the lead for Louisville. Good defense by Allen on Lewis, and Louisville restarts the offense.
Well, that was an excellent job by Allen to cut off that drive without fouling. That is not easy to do.
Snyder in a circle. Count it. They're tied. And Quentin Snyder will have a chance to give them the lead. He has 8 points.
Boy, that's the second really good drive by Quentin Snyder. He kept his dribble alive, didn't pick it up. Just came off that little handoff and continued to take it all the way around to the other side, even though he couldn't get a great angle into the paint.
Third foul on Thornton. 6 team fouls on Duke, so the next foul on Duke and both teams will be over the limit.
With Snyder improved from last year to this. Last year he was not a great shooter, but really improved. Oh, another turnover. Wow.
Boy, full court pressure, they just throw it away. And again, Jay, even if it's psychological, you wonder about fatigue with Duke. This very short bench, second game in 3 days, and Coach K talks openly about managing minutes. Boy, Lewis dribbled into a problem. Plumlee wound up taking it away.
That's multiple times now that Lewis has tried to cross over, taking the ball through an awful lot of traffic, and he's lost it 2-3 times.
And Louisville has the lead, despite it hasn't been a great night for Lee or Lewis. Allen, tough shot. Mahmoud takes it down, the 7-footer.
So that's where I think Allen wants to look to pass. That looked a lot like some of the drives that he made against Kentucky early on in the season against in Chicago at the Champions Classic, where he was driving hoping something was going to happen instead of making it happen.
Nice pass by Mahmoud, and Snyder missed the open 3 in the corner. The rebound controlled by Brandon Ingram. 6'9" and 190 pounds.
And 2 long rangy athletes going after that rebound, and Brandon Ingram just a little bit longer than Ray Spalding.
Ingram's added muscle, but Coach K wonders what he's going to be like when he hits the weight room for an extended period of time. Get that frame up to about 220. A lot of hands on the driver, and Spalding is called for the foul. They're over the limit. It'll be a 1-and-1. 2 fouls on Spalding. After tonight's Big 12 battle, right after our game, Texas and Oklahoma. Stick around for SportsCenter at night with John Anderson and Nicole Briscoe. All the highlights from college basketball, the NBA, the NHL, and one of my favorite events of the year, the Beanpot Hockey Championship at the Garden in Boston, BC and BU. I know you know at least one thing about the Beanpot.
I know who the BU coach is.
Show off to America.
David Quinn.
David Quinn, that is correct.
Outstanding coach
of the Boston University Hockey Terriers. Annual tournament, the first 2 Monday nights in Boston for the bragging rights. BC and BU in the final. Harvard and Northeastern, the other 2 schools. Ingram had a chance to put them on top. He tied it at the line. 4:40 to go. Rick Pitino's team at 8-2 in the league, tied with North Carolina atop the ACC. This would be a huge win.
Matt Jones still on Damian Lee. Good pass.
And Spalding, no. Mahmoud tried to tip it, but Ingram ripped it down. 7 boards for Ingram.
How about that rebound by Ingram? Brought that thing down with 2 hands. That was at the rim, if not higher.
Thornton down the lane, threw it out to Jones. Jones, a little stop and go, and freed him up for a layup. He has 6. Sloppy pass. Lee to the wing, just floated it out there, and great effort by Grayson Allen. He almost picked it off.
Boy, this game has been very emotional coming down the stretch, and Matt Jones, boy, after that great shot fake and hesitation move, the emotion seems to be on Duke's side right now.
All right, two good games coming up. ESPN2, a top 10 matchup on the women's side, and Isaiah Cousins and number 3 Oklahoma getting set to deal with Texas. Connecticut's going to end South Carolina's unbeaten streak. They're up 15 with 1 minute to go.
All right, Carl, thank you. Here we have a 2-point game. Duke with the lead, under 4 minutes to go. Spalding, yes, around the rim and in for Spalding. Louisville shot 31% from the floor in the first half, and they're at 66.7 here in the second half.
Well, that was a great duck in right in front of Brandon Ingram by Ray Spalding. He's got 8 points in this ball game to go along with 5 rebounds. Another switch with Mahmoud on Allen. And Allen has been really quiet. He hadn't hit a bucket since that opening play of the second half.
It was 1 for 4 in the second half, right on cue. 1 for 5. Plumlee the rebound, and he was fouled. Going on Snyder. There was also a Cardinal down around the feet of Plumlee, who might have been called for the foul had it not gone to Snyder.
You can see that Spalding just ducking right in front of Brandon Ingram, who wasn't playing on the line, up the line. You know, sometimes it's hard for freshmen. You got to play your man before he gets the ball, not after he gets it.
The reason Snyder upset, that's his 4th foul. There's the improved shooting on both sides. It's a bit of a rock fight in the first half.
Grayson Allen was upset after that shot. I couldn't tell whether he's mad because he missed it or mad because he got hit. But he was down on the floor and not happy at all. A little conversation with the official.
1-1 for Plumlee, 59% for the year. Swish is the first one. 7-footer. Now a graduate student here at Duke.
And he's really done a nice job all season long for Duke, especially since Emil Jefferson's gone out, when he's at times been all by himself on the glass.
10 points. Jefferson on the bench, joining the Cameron Crazies. Duke trying to win the 1,000th game played all time in this building. Louisville trying to win the 1,000th game coached in college by Rick Pitino. Lee, another strong drive. Boy, he is authoritative going to that left hand around the rim, and the foul on Brandon Ingram is his first.
Well, he just able to split that double off the ball screen, just attacking. And you got to stay connected when you're a big guy. Stay up there to try to corral a guy like Lee, because he's not been able to make a perimeter shot.
Originally they had Lee as 4 for 14 from the floor, but the scorers changed one bucket, gave it to Snyder, and took it away from Lee. Wow. Second best free throw shooter in the conference. He's missed a couple. The rematch Saturday, Kansas and OU, 2:30 on ESPN. Jay Billis will be there. Rough night shooting all the way around for Lee.
Well, coming back after missing a game with that bruised knee. And Matt Jones has done a nice job on him when he's been on him.
Big trouble there for Duke. Good trap in the corner. And Duke used a timeout. Each of these Hall of Fame coaches left with 1 timeout.
The last place you want to catch the ball is in that corner. Rick Pitino calls that the coffin corner.
Let's take a look at tonight's Wendy's Wooden Watch. We have a couple on the midseason top 25 watch list as they pared it down to 25. Damian Lee and Grayson Allen. Been a rough night all night for Lee. Allen had a terrific first half.
You know, Allen's been very good all season long. Had 16 points in the first half. Hit his first shot on the first play of the second half on a 3 in the corner. But on his drives, he's had some times when Anas Mahmoud has switched off on him. He's not been able to get anything to go. Well, he may want to look to drive and kick.
Louisville bringing pressure again. They have 1 timeout. They get it in.
Plumlee got
caught the
hurt there.
return pass and looked down to make sure his heels weren't still on the baseline or sideline.
He's trying to spread the floor, get into some ball screen action.
Ingram took a hit from Anas Mahmoud. 3 fouls on Mahmoud, so the foul difficulty piling up for Louisville.
Duke's had some success when they've driven the ball of using a little hesitation move. Brandon Ingram used it right there. You saw Matt Jones do it on a drive just before. That hesitation move has created a little bit of space, allowed them to draw a couple fouls.
10 team fouls on Louisville, so Duke will shoot 2 the rest of the way. They've made, entering tonight, 420 free throws, and you can add 14 more to that tonight. That's 8th most among all major conference teams. They get to the line a lot, and they make a high percentage. And the lead is 3 as we approach 2.5 minutes to go. Texas and Oklahoma coming up next on Big Monday. Snyder rifled it down low. Spalding looked like he got hit in the head from up here. No whistle and no complaint from Rick Pitino.
Well, Spalding was going away from the basket, and Plumlee got some late pressure on that shot and forced the miss.
Ingram showing his ball handling skills at 6'9". Mike Krzyzewski has said he thinks, if necessary, Ingram could play point guard in the NBA. He's that good with the ball. And he got hit in the head.
Boy, that foul was on Quentin Snyder. I think that's his 5th.
It is, so he's fouled out with 12 points, all in the second half. He was a huge part of their comeback, starting point guard who directs the action.
It just takes a ball handler distributor out of the lineup because Lewis and Lee are primarily scorers. Now Lee's going to have to take over the ball handling responsibilities. Or excuse me, Lewis is going to have to take over the ball handling responsibilities. One guy I think that can really be an impact down the stretch is Donovan Mitchell, if he can catch the ball in a position to attack off the dribble.
So Ingram back to the line for 2 more.
Sean, you mentioned the amount of free throws that Duke shoots. Now, this is a team that from the lines, the free throw line and the 3-point line, that's where they're most dangerous, and one helps you get to the other. You spread the floor with that 3-point line, you can attack off the dribble and get to the free throw line.
The Duke lead is 5. 2 minutes to go. Louisville without his starting point guard. So it's Trey Lewis with the ball. Guarded by Thornton. Mitchell.
Got fouled by Plumlee.
Foul called by Plumlee on the drive. His second. They're over the limit. It'll be a 1-and-1 for Donovan Mitchell, a 74.5% free throw shooter for the year.
See, just turning down that side ball screen by Mahmoud and just got a step. Looked like he dribbled that off his foot.
First free throws of the night for the freshman. And the pressure of this big game in Cameron on national TV.
He has really stepped up. He had 18 points against Wake Forest, we mentioned. If he knocks this down, he'll have 18 in Cameron Indoor Stadium against Duke as a freshman.
Allen popped out. Ingram the rebound. Nearly got undercut.
We expect Duke to use some clock and really spread the floor right here. Ultimately, you're going to see him try to get a matchup that they can drive.
And again, Coach K puts the ball handling responsibilities on Ingram. And he handled it beautifully. And a bump by Spalding. It'll send Matt Jones to the line for 2. He's 70% for the season. It's the 3rd foul on Spalding.
Spalding was in good position on the closeout. Just put his hands on Matt Jones. Anytime you get 2 hands on a ball handler, that's going to be an automatic foul. Jones has had quite a night defensively, having to guard Damian Lee basically the whole game, and that may be his greatest value as a player, is his versatility defensively. He actually guarded Frank Kaminsky for a period in the NCAA championship game last year.
Two big free throws. Duke making them down the stretch here. 19 out of 24. They've outscored Louisville by 9 from the line. Their lead is 6. They bring a little pressure, trying to make the Cardinals use some time as they bring it up the floor. Lee, tough three, no. Just hasn't been his night. Ingram, the big rebound, 1 minute to go. Duke by 6.
Two possessions down. Rick Pitino looking to play this out.
Still 10 on the shot clock. Ingram, Thornton, 5 to shoot. Thornton had trouble with the dribble. Steps into it and scores as the shot clock runs out. That might do it. 30 seconds to go. They're up by 8. 3 for Trey Lewis, and don't hang up the phone just yet.
Boy, that was a terrific play by the freshman Derek Thornton. Kept his composure. Wow.
While we have a moment, Louisville's used its last time out. Here's Carl Ravage.
Hi, Sean. Thank you very much. And Texas and Oklahoma set to begin about 58 seconds from now. It'll start on ESPN News if our game hasn't concluded by then. Coming off a loss the last time, Buddy Hield exploded for 31, and they beat K-State by 10. They're coming off a loss, getting the Longhorns at home.
And it's a Longhorn team that is playing quite well lately. Big bucket by Derek Thornton, the perfect possession for Duke. The shot clock all the way to 0 when he scored.
The little shot fake got Damian Lee in the air, and he was able to step through and knock it in off the glass. That was a really mature play by the freshman. Then coming down the crossover by Trey Lewis. That was a huge basket to cut this to a 5-point game with 24.5 seconds left in regulation. Now, really the key is for Duke getting the ball inbounds cleanly, being strong with it, because Louisville's going to come for a steal. And you've got to be strong with it. Look to be a receiver. So take your man away and then come back to the ball and run it into your hands. Because this is an aggressive defensive team that is going to look for steals and not be worried about fouls right now. They'll send you to the line.
They don't have a bad free throw shooter on the floor. They'd love to get it to Kennard. He's 90+%. Allen's high 80s. And they foul Thornton. 70%. Probably Louisville's best choice. Ingram's percentage a little bit lower, but he's made 6 out of 8 tonight. Duke has hit its last 8 free throws to maintain this 5-point lead.
Well, Thornton's up at 70% on the season, but in ACC games, he's only shot 54%. He started the last 2 games. Well, he should really be a senior in high school. He reclassed to come into college early, but he's still a really young player.
And Tyus Jones decided to go to the NBA. They had a need for Thornton. Where would they be without him, given the numbers are already low? You know, the numbers are low, but the 6 guys they're playing are talented. And the 7th, Chase Jeter, was one of the top recruits in the country last year. Still finding his way as a college player. Both teams with difficult upcoming schedules. Duke next in action against Virginia Saturday. They go to Carolina and Louisville. Florida State's above 500 in the league, and going to Pittsburgh is no fun. That's a great city. I don't mean that to play Pittsburgh.
You mean to go to the Pete.
And Rick Pitino was talking about how tough their schedule is with an eye toward winning the league. They were tied with North Carolina starting the night atop the ACC. Still have to go to Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, and Miami.
Wait, Notre Dame coming off that win Saturday against North Carolina, a team that can really score efficiently. And Demetrius Jackson, one of the best guards in the country.
So 2 shots for Thornton. His first trips to the line tonight. And the streak is over at 8. Freshman from Chatsworth, California. Ray Ganong doing everything he can to keep that ball out of the hoop. Ingram.
He's out of bounds.
He was out of bounds. Good call. Michael Stevens was right there. He clanged it off the Louisville player, but he was standing on the line when he did it.
Right now, Louisville wants to get the ball to the rim. If you draw the defense, you kick it out for an open three, that's fine. But I think you want to get to the rim as quickly as you can.
Without Snyder, a good penetrator on the floor, fouled out. They've stuck with Mahmoud. He feeds Lee, just can't do it. Mitchell, oh, be careful, up and over press row.
Yeah, I don't think you can settle for a three there. You got to get to the rim. You miss a three there, it's basically game over now. You get to the rim, you extend the game.
7.5 seconds to go.
Well, if Duke can hang on and win this, what a win this would be for a team that has not, in conference play, beaten a team that has a winning record in league play. I mean, the last time Duke's beaten a team that's got a winning conference record was Long Beach State in December.
That was December 30th. Dan Munson's team.
I was doing
and
some of
their wins in ACC play have been against teams with a winning record.
Yeah,
and most of the starting tonight, Jay, of the 15 teams in the league, 10 had a winning record. They've been beating up on the 5 at the bottom of the league, including Boston College, which still does not have a league win. Here's the resume. And we talked a couple of Monday nights ago, Dick by telling me that Duke needs to win games. At that time, you would certainly love their chances of making it, but they have to keep winning.
Yeah, they're going to make the tournament. I really believe that. But you can't pass up winning opportunities, because to this point, of the 10 games that they've played in conference, the 6 games they've won have been against Boston College, Wake Forest. They won at Virginia Tech, and they beat NC State twice, and then won on the road at Georgia Tech. And those teams combined are 10-43 in league play. It's not that those wins are insignificant, but when you start looking at how the committee looks at them, it's not a done deal that a 6-4 team is in the tournament.
Right.
I think they'll make it, but you win a game like this and win a couple more that are in this gauntlet of games they've got coming up, and then you're comfortably in.
And of course, it means nothing for Louisville. Their resume no longer important. They'll end their season at the end of the regular season. And even Coach K talked before the game tonight, Jay, about how disappointed he was for the Louisville players. He used the phrase players' rights. These players on this team who had nothing to do with what's going on in that investigation are the ones who are bearing the brunt of the punishment and won't play in the NCAA tournament. Particularly disappointing for Damian Lee and Trey Lewis, who transferred in this year for, among many reasons, the chance to play in the NCAA tournament. And you'd have to love their chances coming to Louisville. They've been in the tournament the last 9 years, 12 out of 13. They won't be this year. But Rick Pitino raved about how well these 2 young men in particular have handled it. When they went to meet with the press the other day, they said, we don't want to go up there by ourselves. We're going up there with the rest of our teammates. But you feel for these young men. Kennard.
That puts Kennard into double figures now. This was a win that was gutted out in the second half because Louisville made quite a charge.
With about 7 minutes to go, if you had to choose, you would have thought Louisville was going to win the game the way it had turned. Spalding at the buzzer can't get it to go. And Mike Krzyzewski and the Duke Blue Devils win the 1,000th game played in Cameron Indoor Stadium and deny Rick Pitino a win in his 1,000th game as a college coach. So long from Durham. Now let's send you to Brent Musburger and Fran Fraschilla.